Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kings of Fantasy Football. I'm your co-host Pablo, and here's my co-host.
Leo.
So, on today's episode, we are going to be discussing waiver wire targets for week 9 of was it week 9 or week 10, bro? I don't even know what week we are.
Week 10.
Week
Week
10.
10 now. Yeah.
Sorry, because it's still going on today. So this is to kind of, get ahead on, even though waivers don't come through till tomorrow, but so you can kind of get ahead and plan accordingly. So let's kick things off with quarterbacks. Now, this quarterback I talked about earlier this year. I said that if you needed any QB depth or you just needed a QB, that you should definitely target him. And man, if I had him, I definitely would be telling I told you so, but I don't have him rostered in either of my two leagues, and I'm talking none other than Sam Darnold. He is rostered in 62% of leagues, and he had an amazing game against Washington. 330 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. And he has really favorable matchups in the next 2 out of the next 3 weeks against Arizona and against Tennessee. So if you need a quarterback, especially any Jane Daniels owners, since he is now out, definitely would put that on top of your waivers list for QBs. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, the injuries continue to pile on for for us this year as Jaden Daniels went down last night with a torn dislocated elbow, looks like. So he's out for the year, looks like. So let the let the misery continue. Anyways, so one guy I want to talk about this week, picking up is Mr. Jackson Dart. He's been he's more than likely taken in your league, but check to see if he's available. He had 31 fantasy points last night. Oh, this past week with against San Francisco, and this week coming up, he's gonna go up against the Chicago Bears that they allow the 8th most fantasy points to their quarterbacks. So if you need him, he's available. Another quarterback to take a look at is Michael Penix. He had he had a pretty decent game with Jake London back in the fold. He came through yesterday with 221 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And this week they're coming up. He's going up against the Colts. Looks like their defense is starting to get a little rattled and not coming through for fantasy managers, but they align the 12th most fantasy points. So if you need him a little bit deeper, you can go there. And then another guy to take a look at is maybe Aaron Rodgers. They're going up against the Chargers. Their defense has been decent, but that has a potential of being a possible shootout. He's gonna have to throw to try to keep up if the offense gets going. So just someone to take a look at there.
Yeah, man. Wish I had Drake London this year. Probably one of the first few years that I didn't draft him. He's been having a really stellar season. Like I said, he really did well last week, so I agree with Penix. Now moving on to running backs. So the running back that I would target, and before I say his name, well, I guess you'll kind of know after I start talking about the person I thought would finally have his game, and I'm talking about Travion Henderson. He didn't, man. And the guy that took, the carries and the touchdown from him was someone that I didn't know until until the game, and I'm talking about Terrell Jennings. I think at this point, if you even picked up Travion, thinking that he would finally have a good game, you're probably upset like I was. That to me is just the final straw. Like, he was poised to again finally have breakout, and here comes Terrell Jennings. He's only rostered in 3% of leagues, but if it's going to be between him and Travion, or those are your only two options, go get Terrell Jennings because Travion's not doing anything this year.
Yeah, no, it's I hear you. The table was set. Ramondre Stevenson was out. Henderson was gonna get the bulk of the carries, and yeah, Jennings came through. What's funny is that I heard that Jennings was kind of like a person to. He had a previous week. He did have some touches, and I actually picked him up in Dynasty before the before the game. So I kind of got ahead on that, but yeah, it happens sometimes. Um, the first running back I'm gonna talk about today is Kyle Magane. Hey, I've been talking about him a couple of times. He's just check to see if he's still there. Like he blew up this past week with when news broke that Swift was gonna be out for the game, and he came through for fantasy managers. As he piled on 24 plus fantasy points. He ran for over 176 yards and 26 carries. Also had a few receptions for 22 yards. So, if he's there, just get him. Definitely he's gonna at least get a split once Swift comes back. So just make sure that he's still not there. And he does have a nice matchup this week against the Giants this week. So if Swift happens to be out, that could continue. The next running back to talk about is Devin Singletary. Tracy uh, came. He didn't go as planned. Kind of like this other guy, like Henderson. Being that he had the opportunity, but Singletary, he's still as reliable, man. The guy's old and he's 5% rostered right now, and he rushed 8 times for 43 yards. Like these are kind of guy we want to go in a deeper league. Uh, he's definitely gonna get his share of the touches there with the Giants. So someone to look at there. Another running back to take a look at is Tank Bixby. Prior to the bye of last week, um, Barkley did get hurt, and if he happens to, these kind of this is kind of the time that you start getting these lottery tickets. You start getting these backups of these awesome running backs. So if they happen to go down, then Bixby does have an opportunity with an awesome offensive line to come through for you down the stretch. Same thing with Junkins. Junkins separated his shoulder prior to his bye. So Dylan Sampson, someone to take a look at there. And another guy to take a look as well is Lashul Tootin. He did have a touchdown yesterday, and he rushed 9. He didn't rush for that many yards, but it was a touchdown. So in deeper leagues, if you need someone to look at there.
Yeah, something kind of told me about the Giants backfield situation. I'm like, Tracy was supposed to kind of be the day one starter, and then Skatipo kind of took that away, and I was like, maybe Singletary's gonna affect that as well. So moving on to wide receivers, I kind of have the similar mindset that I was talking about with Travion, and I'm talking about BTJ. So with Travis Hunter going on IR, I'm like, all right, BTJ, if you don't do it this week, man, like I don't think you will. And his teammate kind of took a lot of the receptions and everything from him. I'm talking about Parker Washington. So he's targeted 9 times, 8 receptions for 90 yards. He's only rostered in 27% of leagues. They face a tough defense next week, this upcoming week against Houston. But if BTJ's again not gonna kind of perform how he was supposed to, I would definitely target Washington. Or if you just need some wide receiver depth, I would definitely target him. How about Julio?
Yeah, no, Washington's definitely a good pickup. Brian Thomas, like you said, he had the opportunity with Hunter out. He did have three receptions, 5 targets for 55 yards, but he he messed up his ankle when he finally did a big play for 34 yards, and then he's done for the day. So if he's out, Hunter's out, and definitely Washington will have a nice day for sure. The first receiver I want to talk about is Christian Watson. This past week, um, Matthew Golden went down with an injury, and also Tucker Kraft, he went down with ACL, so he's done for the year. So Washington, who's a Mr. IR himself as well. When he's always getting hurt, but since he's come back, he's been producing for fantasy managers, and he's gonna have the opportunity to get some more targets moving forward. So if you have the opportunity to grab him, go for it. This past week he got two. He only had two. He was targeted 4 times, had a couple of receptions for 58 yards. He's a big play waiting to happen. So, and next week, next week they're going to be going up against the Giants. I'm sorry, versus the Eagles. So that could probably be a possible shootout there with those two teams. Next receiver that someone maybe to take a look at as well is Alec Pierce from the Colts. He continues to produce decently. So if you need someone there, take a look. And also another receiver, take a look at a little deeper is Torrey Horton. He had a nice game this past week, last night with Sam Darnold. Not only was Jigba was producing, but so is Horton, that he had a couple of touchdowns himself. So if you have if you need someone a little deeper, he's fairly available. He's only rostered in probably 5% of your leagues, so he's a little deeper, and you can probably get him there as well. Yeah, he caught out. He was targeted 4 times, came with 4 receptions and a couple of touchdowns. So I'm gonna look at it a little deeper.
Yeah, I know we talked about Torrey a few times this year. Feel bad for. I mean, I'm not saying Jason had a bad game, but the Jason managers probably wanted some more touchdowns last night. So moving on to tight ends. The tight end that I would target is going to be Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans. He's only rostered in 29% of leagues. The reason that I would target him is if I had to guess, I would say C.J. Stroud is going to be out this game. Hit did not look good at all, and he was sidelined after that hit. Nothing big as far as concussion protocol. I don't know if they can clear it within a week. And they face Jacksonville. So if Davis Mills is behind center, he targeted Schultz 8 times, 6 receptions for 77 yards. So I would definitely target Schultz, especially if you lost Kraft since he's out for the year. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, kind of like we mentioned with Kraft being out, right off the bat, you should probably take a look at Luke Musgrave. He was actually drafted ahead of Kraft that year because the Packers drafted 2 tight ends that year, and Musgrave was injured that first year, and Kraft just came through and kind of took over. But now it's Kraft is hurt, so now Musgrave has a chance to restabilize his position in the offense. The Love likes to throw the tight ends, so he's someone to look at there. Harold Fannin, make sure that he's not there lingering in the waiver wire. He's been solid, very solid as a rookie this year, this whole season. He was on a bye last week, so he has he will be coming back this week, and has a nice matchup. So going up against the Jets, and another someone that I kind of said to pick up last week, Colston Loveland. He blew up this past week. Even though Cole Kmet came in, he got injured again, and Colston blew up and produced one of the best games of the season. They had over 100 yards and a long touchdown. So someone to look at there. And then also Mason Taylor, he's one of the target there and with the Jets. Other than Garrett Wilson, not sure if he's going to be able to get back this week. But if he isn't, Taylor definitely get even more targets. So just a couple of guys to look at there.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, picking up Loveland. Hopefully whoever listened actually listened to you and, reap the benefits of that. I kind of wish I had been one of those because really could have used that production this week. And yeah, again, more injuries, so Kraft went down. So, hopefully Musgrave kind of comes into fruition. And last but not least, moving on to defenses. I talked about this defense earlier this year as well. They've been pretty consistent. This year, the only bad game they had was against Tampa. Pretty much every other week, they're getting over 10 points, which is really good because most leagues you start at the 10. You don't always in there. And I'm talking about Seattle's defense. So Seattle's rostered in 57% of leagues, and again, they have really favorable matchups coming up these 2 out of the 3 weeks. So if you need either streaming defense or just maybe a defense that you can kind of plan to have for this playoffs that are pretty much around the corner, I would definitely target the Seahawks. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, a couple of defenses to get that you could probably stream this week. One is the Buffalo Bills. They are playing the Dolphins this week. They were able to pull off a win against the Kansas City. So they're definitely someone to pick up there. Dolphins have been inconsistent this season. So and they just allowed Baltimore to run all over them. So the Bills could probably do the same. And another defense to pick up is also the Cleveland Browns. They're coming off a bye, and they play the Jets this week. That they allow a lot of points to opposing defenses. They allow the 7 most points to opposing defenses, and if Garrett Wilson's not playing, all I have to do is control Fields. If he plays, if he ends up being the starter, and if not, be Tyrod Taylor, whoever, and so the Jets offense hasn't been too powerful this year. Very very weak, and so yeah, definitely someone to another team defense to stream there. They're 32% roster, so you probably have a more possibility of getting the Browns, especially since they're coming out the bye.
Yeah, really, really juicy matchup for the Browns and the Bills. If I had to choose either of those two, I'd probably go with the Browns. And like I said, you probably have more possibility of probably getting them. So, again, these are waiver wire targets, even though we're going to publish this Monday of the current week, so you can get prepared. Please like, follow, share. We're available on all major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If you have any questions, you can reach me on X. That would be at ArchReaper, ARCHREAPR. Leo, where can they reach you?
Yeah, if you have any fantasy questions, dynasty questions, start sit. You can reach me on X as well at Smooth1074. Like Pablo said, if you like the show, follow, subscribe, tell a friend, share on social media. Only helps us out. And please rate the show. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.